with my 60 stitches. You want to slip stitch in the beginning stitch. Get just a little closer. Now we're going to be doing chain 1, and we're going to be doing the crab stitch again, but this time you won't be skipping any stitches, and you're going to be working in the front loop only. So you have 2 loops. One is called the front loop. Where's my little thing here? One is called the front loop, which is this one, and then you have the back loop. We're only going to be going in through this front loop, leaving the back loop open because we're going to be using it next round. So the best way I found to do this is you use your hook to grab just that front loop, and then slip your hook under it and do a crab stitch. Once you do the first one, the rest becomes a little easier. So you just grab up the next front loop, do a crab stitch. Grab up the next front loop and do a crab stitch. Just so much easier to just grab it with your hook and continue to go. If you have to use your finger to hold the other back stitch down, then go ahead. Just make sure that you only grab that front loop, because we need that back loop for next round. And this is what's going to give you the ridge that separates the rim from the rest of the hat. So just continue this all the way around, and I'll see you when you get back up to the beginning. Okay, when you come back up to the beginning again, just go into, this is the first stitch where we chained 1, and then we started our very first crab stitch, which is here. And got a space before that crab stitch. That's where I'm going to slip stitch into, and again chain 1. Now we're going to be working the normal direction that you're used to working in, and you can fold. See those front loops, or I should say the back loops sticking out? Those are the stitches we'll be working in this round, and we just want to put a single crochet in each stitch. So in this first back loop, and I'm just holding down this crab stitch row with my thumb, and it pops the back loops out, and you just want to put 1 single crochet in each of those stitches all the way around. And again, at the end of this round, you should have 60 stitches. So just take your time, make sure you're not skipping any of those loops. And if you're variegated yarn like me, you can see the loops a little easier just because they're a different color. So continue doing that, and I'll see you back here in a moment. Okay, and now I've made it back to the beginning of my round, and you just want to slip stitch in that beginning stitch and chain 1. And now this is a good place to place a marker. So my beginning stitch is here, so I'm going to find a place below it here to grab a stitch up. And then I use a different color. It's just a piece of yarn, small piece of yarn that I fold in half. Then I grab it, pull it through the stitch, creating a loop on this side. Then I just grab the yarn and feed it through that loop I just made. Pull it to tighten, and there you go. Now we're going to be starting our actual hats, the Moss stitch now. So in your very first stitch here where you slip stitched and chained one, you want to go ahead and put a half double crochet. So you yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, and you pull through all 3 loops. And then in the next stitch, you want to do a slip stitch. In the next stitch, you'll do a half double crochet again. Then in the next stitch, you'll do a slip stitch. You'll be repeating these 2 stitches over and over again. So half double crochet, and then slip stitch. Then half double crochet, and then slip stitch. So just keep repeating the half double crochet and slip stitch all the way around. Half double crochet in one stitch, slip stitch in the next. Half double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next. So continue this all the way around, and when you get back up here to the beginning again, I'll show you what to do. Okay, I reached my beginning. You began with the half double crochet, so you should end with the slip stitch. This little stitch here is the slip stitch from last round, so that doesn't count as a stitch. So you'll find your very first stitch of this round. Be careful because there is the chain here. Go into that first, the top of the half double crochet, and do a slip stitch. Then you want to chain 1, and you'll want to turn your work like you do when you're working rows. You'll turn your hat inside out, and now you're facing what's called the wrong side. Now for this round, again, in the very first stitch, put a half double crochet. And then in the next stitch, do a slip stitch. Next stitch, put a half double crochet. Next stitch, slip stitch. You're going to be repeating what you did last round. When you do your slip stitch from last round, it kind of creates this loop. But if you look at it, there's actual 2 parts of the stitch. That's what you want to go under. You don't want to go into this loop that it creates back here, because that's what is creating the pattern of these little ridges. So you don't want to go through that stitch. So make sure that you're not going through that stitch, but turn it slightly and you'll see your 2 stitches are here. So just continue working around, and when you get back up to the beginning, which is here, your marker's on this side, but I can still see it because it's white, so I know my beginning stitch is here. So anyway, continue on till you get back to the beginning, and I will see you back here. Okay, I've reached my beginning again, and it may look like there's a stitch here, but it's not. It's the slip stitch. What I do when I'm not sure if this is a stitch or not is I stop and I count my stitches. So count all the way around, and when you get up to the beginning here, if you have 60 stitches, then you know for a fact that that is not a stitch. You have your 60 stitches, you're good to go. You slip stitch in the beginning stitch of the round. Chain 1 and turn. Every row, I should say every round, you'll be turning your work back and forth, back and forth. So when you're on this side now, after you've done 2 rows now of the Moss stitch, this is the part I was telling you about, how your stitches, they can either go diagonal or they can go up and down. They look the best when they're diagonal like this. So every round you're going to have to check to make sure that they're going diagonal. unless you want them to go straight, then you got to make sure that they're going straight every round. So what I always do as a default is I'll always start my first stitch and do a half double crochet, and then in the next stitch I'll start my slip stitch. I'll do about the first 6 stitches as normal, doing my half double crochet and slip stitch, and once you've got about 6 stitches done, you can turn it to the back and you can see these little things that stick up here. These are what make the moss stitch, and you can see on mine that they're vertical, and I don't want them to be vertical. So I'm gonna rip out my last 6 stitches back to my beginning, and instead of starting with a half double crochet, I'll start with a slip stitch, and then my next stitch will be a half double crochet. Then I'll do a slip stitch and half double crochet just as normal. You never know whether you need to start with a slip stitch or a half double crochet. So I'll do the next 6 stitches, I'll turn and look, and then now for me, get it on camera here, now you can see I have 1 stitch here, and then the other one is diagonal going this direction. So they're no longer up and down, which is what I want. See, there's one here, 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 here. They're kind of going diagonal, so I'm good. So this round I needed to start with a slip stitch instead of half double crochet, and I'm sure yours will be the same. So if you want it to be, you know, parallel up and down, then you'll want to start this round with a half double crochet, but if you want it to be diagonal like I do, you'll want to start it with a slip stitch. And you'll check your round like this every round. I know it's a pain in the butt, and this is why it took me so long to make the tutorial, because I was trying to find, you know, trying to figure out the pattern, you know, but there just isn't. So every round you're going to need to check, and then once you do, you just continue on as normal. It'll always be half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch. So just continue your half double crochets and slip stitch all the way around. I'm going to get back up here to the beginning, then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, came back up to the beginning. I have 60 stitches, which is what I want, and you just slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, chain 1, and again you're going to be turning your work. Like I said, every round you'll be turning your work. And again, as default, I always start with a half double crochet in the first stitch, then work a slip stitch in the next, half double crochet, then slip stitch. I'll work the first 6 stitches, and then I'll flip it to see how my stitches are going. And they look like they're going straight up and down again. So I'm going to rib it out again, slip stitch in my very first stitch, then half double crochet in my second, then continue my pattern for the next 6 or 7 stitches. Then I'll turn and check, and now they're the way I want. Now they're going, whoops, now they're going diagonal again. See? And that's what I want. So I'm going to continue what I'm doing, the pattern I'm going with now. So this round I also had to start with a slip stitch at the beginning. So it sucks, but you're going to have to check it like that every time if you want your moss stitch to go diagonal. And you'll continue doing that back and forth, back and forth. Remember, count your stitches if you're not sure what your beginning stitch is, which one it is, because you definitely want to stay with your 60 stitches. If it's getting a little tight, then maybe you do want to add another stitch. there on the end where you do your slip stitch. If it's feeling like it's a little tight, maybe use that stitch just to add a stitch or two. So it's up to you. But I'm sticking with my 60 stitches because it usually comes out pretty good. So you want to continue this until your hat, let me back up a little bit here. Okay. You want to continue this until, where's my tape measure? There we go. Until your hat measures from the edge of the rim where your hat ends all the way to the last stitch worked. Reaches about 25 centimeters. Here it looks like I did maybe an extra row, so it's more like 25 and a half. That's okay, it just means it's going to be a little bit more slouchy. Anyway, 25 centimeters is almost 10 inches. So if you want to just go ahead and go right to 10 inches, it's completely fine. 1 or 2 rows extra is not going to matter. Just go about 25 centimeters, 10 inches. And once you've got that, make sure also that you're facing the right side. You can tell by the little bump here. So once you've done that and you have your 25 centimeters or 10 inches, I'm going to move my marker up here. To mark the beginning of my round. Move all this out of the way. Get a little closer for you. Okay. When you're ready to end your hat, and you got your place marked, all you do is you go into your very first stitch and do a single crochet. And then you want to do a single crochet decrease. So you'll go in and you'll pull up a loop, then you'll go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then you'll do a single crochet. And then you'll do a single crochet decrease. You'll be going single crochet decrease, single crochet decrease. You'll continue this pattern all the way around. Do a single crochet and then do a single crochet decrease. You're closing up your hat now. So we're decreasing. So single crochet decrease, and continue this around until you get back up to your marker. Okay, when you come back up to the beginning again, this is my first stitch. I've marked it, so there's no need to slip stitch. You're just going to continue right into the next stitch, right into that beginning stitch, and do a single crochet. So this is your beginning stitch. Now you want to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And you're going to be doing this for the next 2 rows. So you have this round that you're about to do with single crochets all the way around, and then when you get back up to the beginning again, do 1 more round of just single crochets all the way around. So for the next 2 rounds, do single crochets in all stitches around, and when you get back up here to the beginning, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, when you're done with your 2 rounds of single crochets, you're ready for the next decrease round. So first, let's start off with a decrease, and then a single crochet. And then again, we're going to be doing a decrease, and then a single crochet. And you'll be repeating exactly what you did your first round of decreases. Doing a decrease, then doing 1 single crochet. So single crochet decrease, then single crochet. Just be repeating it over and over again. Single crochet decrease, single crochet. And you'll have less stitches this round because you've already decreased before. So you're just working your single crochet decreases and single crochets until you get back up to your marker again, which I should be in just a moment. Oops. Trying to keep my stitches uniform, not too far apart. It's the reason why we do these 2 rows of single crochets, so that because when you decrease you create gaps, and by doing the 2 rows of single crochets you kind of close the gap some before you decrease again. Makes the hat look a lot prettier, cleaner, neater. Okay, so I'm back up to the beginning again, and now again after you've done your so again I'm back up at the beginning again, and I've done my decrease row just like I did down here, and now for the next 2 rounds again you're going to want to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So for this round and the next and the following, I should say, you'll want to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So finish this round, single crochets, do 1 more round of single crochets, and then I'll show you how to close up your hat. Okay, reached the end of my round. See, the hole is much smaller now, and my beginning stitch is here, so I'm going to slip stitch into my beginning stitch, then chain 1, then leave yourself a long tail about 10 inches or so. Then you can pull your chain tight and remove your marker. And now turn your hat inside out so you have the wrong side facing you. And now get your tail through here and get your tapestry needle. Find the beginning here. Okay, now we're going to start weaving our tapestry needle through the stitches that you would normally be working in, weaving it a little bit and then pulling, then weave a little bit more, then pull. It's just like making a drawstring. And pull. Continue to do this all the way around. Grabbing about 3 stitches at a time. Oops, hit my light. Hit my light. Oh, it's okay. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and end where my tail will be on the inside of the hat. Then you just pull to close. So here's my hole, and I'm going to go on the stitches on the other side of my hole. So my tail is here, so on the opposite side I want to put my needle just on the top stitches, not deep in your hat or anything. Pull it to where you have a loop, and you can put your tapestry needle through that loop and pull tight. And then I like to do it the opposite side here, going through this side of the hole to the other side of the hole. Doing the same thing pulling until I have a loop. And then that usually tightens it up pretty good. Now I just do it one more time, going through one side and then the other. Pull it until I have a loop, but this time I'm going to grab the loop. And I'm going to use it to tie 3 knots. So 1, 2, and 3. Then what I do, I'll usually twist this loop just to close it. See, it's all twisted now. And then there's a little loop here on the end, which I'll stick my hook through. And even still, you can twist it around with your hook if you want. I mean, with your needle. But usually it's easier if you just use your fingers than stick your needle through it. So I stick my needle through my twisted loop here, and then I will feed it down the stitches, these last rows of single crochets that we did, and pull. And it usually hides that loop now that was there. And then I usually go a different direction, so I did go down. Now I'm just going to follow my stitches along the other direction to the side. So I came down this way, and then now I'm going another direction. I'm going this way. It's just to help hide your tail a little bit better so it doesn't come as loose. Just tug it, because you know they will when they put it on. They'll stretch it out. And then cut your tail. Always leave a little bit of tail on the inside. Then you can turn your hat inside out. And there you go. That is how you make the Moss Stitch Slouch Hat, or tam hat, whatever you prefer to call it. And that's it. I hope that you liked this tutorial, and if you did, please don't forget to click like, and please don't forget to share this video. It helps me out so much. Thank you so much. You can always find the link to the pattern in the description box below the video. And most of my patterns have pictures. And also the PDF file that can be downloaded is under PDF patterns in another section of my website. So that's it. Please don't forget to like and share this video. And thanks so much for watching.